Hey everybody, Lady Liberty Stacker. It is April the 9th, 2019, and today I want to talk to you about a video on what is collectible cast iron and what is not collectible cast iron. And right now what you're looking at are a number of pieces in my own collection. Some of these are collectible and some of these are not. And what inspired this video was a comment made last week when I posted the restoration video on the old, damaged, warped Griswold that was chrome plated. And I made a comment that those skillets weren't as collectible as the rare iron pieces, like the ones you're looking at here. And somebody had commented, just because a skillet isn't valuable doesn't mean it's not collectible. Well, in a way, he's right, or she. I can't remember who made the comment. I'm sorry about that if you're listening, but, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so to speak, and some people collect certain things. Some people may like all number 3s. Some people may like number 5s or 6s. Some people may collect a bunch of Dutch ovens, like you see over here. It just depends on what the person likes to collect. So, actually, collectability can be very individualized, but when I was talking about that term, I meant collectible as far as value, holding value, being able to resell it, get your money out of it, or make more money on it, because collectors are looking for it. And when I say collectible, and when it comes to cast iron anyway, vintage pieces always seem to do better than modern. The workmanship they used to use a long time ago is better than modern. This is a modern lodge, for example. It doesn't have the same tooling that perhaps an old Wagner will have, or an old Griswold will have, and so to speak. So there's an article, I'll get back to this in just a minute. I just wanted to let you feast your eyes on some of these pieces here in my collection. But there are definitely collectible out there, and there's not collectible. But again, it's based on, you know, the age of it, the rarity of it, but it still needs to be a piece that people are aware of, that want to collect. Also, the condition plays a very important role. So rarity makes it go up as long as it's desirable and collectible. And the condition, so you could have two equal skillets, but one being in better condition than the other, the one in better condition will always command more money. That's a given. And a lot of these pieces here involved a lot of work and bringing them back to a state where they look like they're newer and not covered in rust. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and take a quick look at the article that I had read, and I will link it below in the description so you can see, you can read it, the whole thing on your own, but I will be right back. Okay, you're looking at an article from castironcollector.com, and it's basically entitled Non Collectible Cast Iron Cookware, and they go into what is generally not collectible. And just to give you an overview here, Griswold not marked Erie PA USA or Erie PA. Griswold made in USA appear to be from altered late era Wagner patterns and were made in Wagner plant in Ohio. Now, for every rule there is an exception. There are some pieces that are just not being made anymore that may violate one or more of these rules that people are looking for that are collectible. I have a piece like that I anticipate selling once I get it finally completed. But at any rate, a few others here are things made in Korea or China, Republic of China here. They've been saying ROC. They're trying to fake people out. They don't want to come out and say made in China, but that type of cast iron is not collectible. Wagner's 1891 original. It's just a modern day commemorative piece commemorating the establishment of Wagner Manufacturing Company in 1891, and some other pieces here. So that's just a general food for thought there. I'll link, like I said before, I'll link it below in the description, and you can read the whole thing in its entirety. So right now I want to show you my collection, and as to what is collectible, just examples of things that are collectible and not collectible. So I will be right back. Okay guys, I'm back. I just have a few examples from my own collection of things that are collectible and not. So we're going to start here at the beginning. I have a corn stick pan. This is called a crusty corn cob. U.S. I think it's something U.S. patent. Wagner ware Sydney O. So that stamp makes it more collectible. It's older piece, and this piece was made in 1920. There are a ton of corn stick pans out there, but this one is probably more valuable than those are because it was older and it's in very good condition. So I'll go ahead and turn it over here. I'm holding this with one hand on the camera, but you can see the condition of this. So of whatever they're going for, and I don't know because I'm not going to sell it, this would probably get the top dollar in the class. Now, if it's overpriced, it's not going to sell no matter what. People are just not going to pay more than what they're worth. So that is a corn stick pan. Not as collectible as other types. Like waffle irons, there's a ton of those too. And but a meatloaf pan, a true meatloaf pan cast iron is extremely collectible, and they go for several $100s. So I wish I had one to show you. I just don't. If I find one, you'll find out about it. Moving right along, this is a pancake griddle, and totally not collectible. I mean, it works just fine. I sanded it. It's a Lodge. You can do that. It's non-collectible. I wanted to make it a smoother surface. And you can see here by the inscription, it is a Lodge, USA, and it says 90G for griddle. So size 9, I guess. I'm not sure. But an old Griswold griddle like this would be much more collectible than this. This is kind of halfway in between. I found this at my local Savers. I stripped it and redid it. I still have another coat or two to put on it. Got all the rust off. This is a pancake pelt Swedish pan. It is a number, but there's no number, but I think it might have worn off, but it's a number 34. It's a Griswold. It says made in USA, so I imagine this was made in the very early 60s. There's not very many of them floating around. They didn't make that many of them, so even though it was made in the 60s, it still has just the singular Griswold logo on it. It's very, very collectible and valuable, especially in the kind of condition it's in. When I get my things ready for sale, they're probably in the best condition, some of the best condition of any of the skillets listed. If I don't think I can get them like that, then they're not listed. So, but anyway, this is a mini pancake pelt, and if this were a griddle, a Griswold griddle, it would be much more valuable than that, simply because it's older, it's desirable, it's sought after. There's not that many of them out there, and Griswold had a good reputation way back in the day. It still does, but Griswold had a good reputation for making quality skillets. So there you go, and these are collectible. These really are not. Now we're going to move on. We're looking at number 3, which is about a 6.5-inch skillet. This one here is an unmarked Wagner, and you can tell because it has the same design and fonts as a Wagner ware from Sydney O. These two together, this one's obviously more collectible than this one because this one's unmarked. Unmarked skillets can still be collectible. I sold an unmarked Griswold, got about 40 plus shipping for it, or 45. I can't remember now. It was a pretty decent price, and I think I might have paid $9 for it, something like that. But at any rate, you can see the interiors, and these are both relatively the same, but this one would command more money on the market than this one. And then, of course, you have another number 3. You have a large logo Griswold, and this one is worth more than the other two. And it is a little bit thinner. Somebody asked me what was lighter, a Griswold or a Wagner. Definitely the Griswold. I have arthritis in my right hand, and I definitely like picking up the lighter pieces. So of these 3, you have the Wagner large logo. I'm sorry, the Griswold large logo. The next most valuable would be a smaller logo, but the large logo is always more valuable because there weren't as many of them, and you run into the small logo more, or at least the cast iron collectors out there like the large logo. Maybe they like the way it looks, I don't know. But those are the number 3s, and the number 3s 5s, and those are all number 8s right there. They're the most common type of skillet out there. So if you compared any of these with a 7 or a 9 or a 6 or something you just don't see often, the 7 and the 6 and the 9 are going to command more money. Everything else being equal, because they aren't as plentiful as the 8s. And I said this before, the 3, 5s, and 8s were made to accommodate most of the burner types of the early 20th century that the stoves can accommodate. Okay, moving right ahead, we have a small logo. That's about 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches across. Griswold number 5. Beautiful pan. It cooks great. Not as collectible as a large logo, but more collectible than perhaps. I have a, I don't have it here. It's a Wagner pan, and this is definitely more valuable than that. This is the Griswold name, and they're a little bit lighter, and they still retain the heat, which was what people like. So that's a number 5. But this one might be equal. It's a Wagner ware Sydney O. It is a 1056Q. I think I did a video on this one not too long ago, cooking it with it, trying to get it blacker, because you got to cook with these to get them dark. But this one here is a 6, so it's a little bit more rare than the number 5, even though the number 5 is a Griswold. So they're probably equally collectible, or valuable, I should say, on the collector market. Okay? So that's that row. Now we're going to go up here. We're going to go to look at, this is a number 7. This is a large block logo. I just bought this off of eBay not too long ago and restored it. And we have about 5 coats of seasoning on it. That's what it looks like on the interior. It's a gorgeous pan. I recently tested it, fried an egg in it, and just came right out. No problems. And this one here is my omelet pan. This is a beautiful pan. I don't make omelets all that much. You can still tell that it has some bronze to it, and it's got some old seasoning I couldn't get off. It's just the way. This had a lot of stubborn warts on it. So not as quite as good a condition as this one is. This has a small logo. This one has a large block logo. They're both number 7, and they're both Griswold. This one's more valuable. This one I love. It's going to stay in my collection. It cooks great omelets. I have a very smooth surface. It's beautiful. Omelets slide right out of there. But, you know, either one will cook just fine, but that one's more collectible than this one. Next up, you have a number 8 Griswold. I just put up a video on this showing how to make scrambled eggs in a pitted pan. It is definitely less collectible than the 7. 7 is more rare. This one is more plentiful, and this one isn't quite as in good of condition because a little bit of the pitting going on over here in the skillet, but it still cooks, still releases the food, so pitting really doesn't make that much of a difference. It's just that collectors would prefer to have a pan without the pitting. So that is a Griswold large logo, number 8. This one is a mystery skillet. We see bits of Lodge and Wagner elements and BS&R elements in this design. This one is a great pan. I'm not sure how collectible it would be. It's unmarked. But because it is old with a heat ring, that in and of itself, you know, people really like well-preserved older things that would make it collectible. These are probably be on par equal. The next up is a number 8 Wagner ware. It's a chicken fryer. It's got the larger side, so it's going to try to trap some of that grease that gets hot and wants to fly around. And here it is, Wagner ware Sydney O, model 1088E. And I've used it a few times when I want to saute things, or I have things going on in here. This one I got in an antique shop, and I think I just washed it and just put more seasoning on it. I usually strip it. I don't think I stripped that one. I can't remember. This one here is a number 8. It was purchased at a garage sale. It was covered in rust, so I had no idea what it was. Not a clue. It could have been a Wagner. It probably, it was not a Lodge, but could have been a Wagner. But if you notice here, there's no maker's mark there. This says made in USA, so it was made after 1960. And it is probably a Wagner based on the font, from what I can recognize. It's very thick. It is heavier than even some of the older Wagners. This is an older 5. you can see side by side next to each other. Okay, so that is not collectible at all, but I like to make scrambled eggs in it, so it cooks just great. And here is a modern lodge. This is a skillet. It's a number, let me turn the camera around so you can see it. Number 8, skillet 8, USA. This one is not collectible, it's modern. I picked it up, I think, at an antique mall or garage sale. I can't really remember. I stripped it down. I sanded it with an Avanti strip disc to get it nice and flat in here. It's still a bit bronze because I don't use it as much. It's heavy. And you can tell I stripped it. It should be chocolatey brown to bronze in appearance. The more you use a skillet, it will become shiny black. But this one here is not collectible. That one is more collectible than this. That one is probably 1960 sometime. This one was probably made, could have been made 10 years ago for all I know. But that is a lodge. Now, moving on over here, we have a unmarked Dutch oven. And if you take the lid off and you know anything about cast iron, the randomness of the dots inside indicate that it's a Birmingham stove and range, commonly referred to as BS&R. It is a wonderful skillet Dutch oven. I've made soups in here. I think I just made a recipe. I can't remember what recipe I made in here. Something with chicken. It was great. It has really high sides. It's not going to spill. And these types of pots in general are very collectible. People love them. The three-legged pots, the ones with gate marks. I don't have any to show you because the ones I had, I sold. They sell anywhere from $80 to over $100. People want those. They like them when they go camping and so forth. And finally, we have two number 10s right here. We have a number 10 lodge. It says 10 skillet. You can see it's upside down, USA. This was the first skillet that I purchased. The number 10 is 12 inches, very heavy. Oh, very heavy. That's why they added the assist handle on that side. I stripped it. I redid it. And it cooks great. It's good for pan pizza and stuff like that. I mean, it has its uses. It's just not collectible. I'd go down to Walmart. You can probably buy one for 19 bucks plus tax. To get it to look like mine, you'll have to strip it, sand it, and redo it. But yeah, I mean, it's very heavy. And then you have this number 10 large slant Griswold logo. It just says Erie, PA. It's one of the early ones. It's probably made in the first decade of the 1900s. I found this in an antique mall. It's a 716, not sure what that is there. I think it says A. And this one here is in phenomenal condition. It sits flat. It's got a nice heat ring, so it's definitely older. And I just recently did another round of seasoning in the oven to get it to nice. It's nice and dry, even though it's starting to get shiny. I've never cooked with it. I just love it to look at it. I know it's kind of crazy, but I just love it. It's probably not going to be sold, but the value of this skillet is probably $200, if not more, based on the condition and everything. It's just a beautiful, beautiful skillet. So, but at any rate, anything more than a 10 will go for big, big money and is extremely and highly sought after by cast iron collectors, aficionados, whatever you want to call them. I recently saw a YouTuber make a sale and found a number 20, which was humongous. And he had his girl reseason it for him that works in his shop, and he listed it on eBay for $13.99, and it sold within 90 minutes, I think. Sold within 90 minutes for $1,399. Incredible, but the larger they go, generally speaking, the more valuable they are. And then again, that is commonly true on cast iron. The larger ones go for more money. Of course, there are a few small ones that go for big money as well. So I hope that explains to you what's collectible and what isn't. And I have another video. I'll just go ahead and reference. Actually, I'll just put up a clip of it, and you can see some of the non-collectible stuff that I ran into, a bunch on one day. Anyway, this is long enough, so I will be back.